Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Roundtable here at mycountylink.com as we take a look at different things going on around the area with this panel of distinguished gentlemen here. We're going to take a look at sports of all sorts as the fall season begins. We'll start with the high school level, work our way into college, and then probably end up someplace cussing and discussing the Browns and Bengals and things of that nature. Anyhow, Alex Warner, glad you could join us. Gaylen Blosser here, House, Mike Stegall. Hopefully bring some things of interest your way here today. And with the fall sports season started, we're going to start at high school and golf, Mike.
Well, golf's already started. They've been practicing, I bet, for a month and a half out at Turtle Creek. I know the Greenville has. I'm sure all the teams have. And matter of fact, Greenville had a junior varsity match yesterday against Troy. And I think Greenville plays today against Sydney. Correct?
Yeah, they got Sydney out at Turtle Creek. Yeah,
so
Ty, you said
they're already in
the WOAC team's been playing down at Beechwood, so and they've been playing quite a bit. They played in Richmond, I guess.
Right, they were at Richmond. The boys were, and the WOAC.
Yeah,
You know what I've noticed about especially spring sport or fall sports now is we've gone on vacation now the last 2 years in July, and everybody's always said, and every travel thing you read says, oh, don't go in July because it's the busiest time of year, it's the most beautiful. We went the last 2 years, and there's been hardly anybody at any of the national parks or things that we've been to.
Really?
Because all these kids are now playing volleyball, golf, and all this stuff, and they're starting earlier.
Yeah.
So they have to be back, like in the end of June, 1st of July to start, practice or whatever. So it's really a good time to go on vacation. And those kids dedicate a lot before school even starts.
Oh, for sure. My grandkids are in that right
Yeah.
now. And our vacations are planned now, early June.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because at the end of June, you're
exactly.
right, Mike?
Well, see, our vacations are planned end of June because our boys, my grandsons, they have baseball all the way through June. So, different things there. It's interesting because I remember when we were all in school, the golf season was in the spring, boys golf, and that was even before girls golf came into being, but they played in the spring. It makes more sense to play in the fall.
It does.
Because they've had all summer,
Right.
to practice
And much
play.
better weather.
Much better weather.
Much
for sure.
Much better weather, that's definitely for
That'll
sure.
move baseball to the fall.
Yeah, I know, is there a Brewer girl or something?
Yeah, so Regan Brewer, Tri-Village.
From
Brooks
Tri-Village,
Records.
and then another girl up at Versailles, I think, is a pretty good golfer. So
And this Graham Brubaker from Cannon broke some school records right off the
Yeah,
bat, right?
he's real good. I would say he would leave the WOAC this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a young man, Josh Brubaker from National Trail against us, had a couple
he's
good
pretty
rounds
good
too.
too.
So they've got, WOAC's got some good golfers
The
in
thing
there, men
about-
and women.
The thing about a lot of the teams now around our areas, they're all young. We got a lot of
Yeah.
young teams. Greenville's golf team is very young,
Right.
Yeah.
but it's going to be interesting to see.
Were you trying to say some of these high school kids are better than us?
I don't
Oh,
have
yeah.
to say it, that's a given.
I hate to think that. I know they outdrive me by about 50 yards or
That's
more.
what they started.
Maybe 100.
50, yesterday I had to take a cart to where some of those kids hit it.
Well, that's golf around the area. Tennis, the girls' tennis team, of course, plays now, and they've played a couple matches.
Well,
Are they able to use the courts out here at the park?
Yeah, they're using the north side courts.
Okay.
The one on the south, they
Got
can't use it.
damaged.
Yeah. Greenville started out with a 5-0 win over Brookville, the girls, tennis. But now they've lost 2 in a row, 5-0. They're real young too. They have a whole lot of girls out. A
That's
good
good.
bunch of
That's
girls.
good.
They were down to where I had 3 or 4.
Oh, wow.
So now they under Coach Keller, they've really got a lot of girls.
That's good.
So,
And the
but
teams
they're young.
Yeah, the teams they got beat by, like Tip City. I mean, Tippett Canoe is always tough.
Right.
Yeah.
That's golf. I mean, a golf and you can market golf and tennis. They're always in
And
there.
football.
and
volleyball,
soccer.
And
More
basketball.
recently, but I'm talking about history,
Yeah.
history, that
Yeah.
those two are just
Yeah.
like a wave
Yeah, I know
softball.
the boys' golf team at Greenville is full. They've got
Right.
as many as they can, and I think they had to make a cut a couple.
Oh,
kids.
that's
So
good.
they-
Well, that's
yeah,
a-
for the first time ever. So it seems like they're getting more and more, more and more kids. wanting to
And I
compete.
tell you what, that's what it's all about, getting kids involved
Yes.
in extracurriculars. It doesn't make any difference if it's sports
Whatever
or
it is.
a drama or
yeah,
a band.
Man, yep.
You get those kids involved in stuff,
4-H.
they end up being good, productive
They do.
citizens.
They
They
do.
really do.
They do.
Hey, so we took a little bit of look at the tennis and the golf programs and so forth. Soccer, Greenville's the only school in the county that has soccer, and it's a program that's struggled.
Well, FM has soccer.
Did they bring
back.
soccer
have
back?
They have a co-ed team.
Okay.
So I think there's 5 girls on the team,
Yeah.
so they'll be back this year.
Yeah, you were saying soccer were just bare minimum as far
Well,
as numbers, or what?
Last year, we had 11.
This is Greenville we're talking
Right, we have a
about.
new coach this year. He's up to 15. They're looking for more players. He said it'll take 7 years to build the program back.
Wow.
And he starts with the 7th graders, so they do have the numbers up a little bit, and he hopes to grow the program.
That sport, you go down, from Newton on down or whatever, Southern,
Yeah.
it's huge. I mean, we go to tournaments and these parks, there's about 30 fields or 40 fields packed with, it's just it's almost like Wizard of Oz, we come to Greenville and
Yep.
Dark County and
Yeah.
no soccer, but boy, down south, it's huge.
Yeah,
Well,
I
they,
know-
they have those programs and soccer clubs over up and down I-75.
Oh, yeah, for
and
sure.
We don't have that here now. We do have Dark County Soccer, and they're trying to build that back.
And that was good. I mean, one time Frank Renault was a powerhouse, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and they had a new field, and pretty soon there was no one playing there. But,
Yeah.
team that, another team in that league, Newton, is, ladies anyway, have been pretty darn good over the several
Yeah,
years.
and you're right, there are some powerhouse teams around the Dayton area, and it's because the feeder
Right.
programs.
Yeah, it is.
Cincinnati is huge
Oh,
for soccer.
yeah, yeah.
I'm here to tell you.
Yeah, I just got back
become
from
a
a long
soccer-
night last night, right?
Like it or not, I've become a soccer understander now.
Hey, cross country, I know boys and girls cross country, I know I gotta stop and think here just a second, I know the Greenville cross country team has the Treaty City Invitational, which is always a big deal.
Yeah, right.
That's the 31st here at the city park.
Almost didn't have it, but.
They're having to reroute the
Right.
course this year because of the damage that was done on the, around the Brownie House and in there, because that was an integral part of the course, and how they're gonna get people back and forth across that swinging bridge, they're gonna have to work on that a little bit.
I did
but,
notice they were out in the park cleaning all that up
they?
yesterday and the day before around.
Yeah.
They've done a real good job
Yeah.
cleaning most of that up now.
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
working
They've done
on
an
it.
outstanding job,
Park
I
looks
think,
great,
given-
yeah, when you look at where we started with
Oh,
that.
yeah.
That's been not even 3 months yet, right? No, a little over 3 months.
But,
On
May
cross-
7th, yeah.
On cross-country, Greenville has Trey Rammel back. Will lead the boys in his hit, so.
Yeah, Stephanie Lynn does a really good
She does a
job.
real good job,
Yeah.
yeah.
She does the
Numbers
boys
are up.
and girls, and I think they also start over at West Milton in 2 weeks, or no, on the 24th, I think it is, the Bob Schul
Schul
Invitational.
Invitational.
And he passed away, I
Yeah,
saw.
he did, I saw that.
Yeah,
But they made a new rule now with OHSAA, they can't run through water. Cross-country has
did
really
they do
changed.
away with the,
Yeah, you can't run through water anymore. But they've really changed it now, they've gone to, they want flat courses instead of hills.
really?
Yeah, it's all
That's
about-
like track, that's
I
not
know.
cross-country.
When they gonna make it a mile run?
Well,
Is that the
they
next
might as
thing?
well just go in on the track and run it. But
Yeah.
they've done
Well, I'm
away with
sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
Why
they-
would they do that?
safety, I guess. I don't, they want faster times, so they don't want all the hills. They may not tell you that, but that's pretty much
I'll be
it.
darned. Well, that's too bad, because
Yeah, it
the
is too
beauty of
bad.
cross-country is
I
the
thought that's why they call it cross-country.
variety of courses and the variety of trains to run
Sure,
through.
down at Tri-Village, they go through water at least
Yeah.
3 times. Makes the best pictures, with
Yeah.
going through water.
That's cross-country,
No,
I don't
That's
know.
why they call it cross-country,
Yeah.
isn't it?
And I don't
Yeah.
know if they can use the Lake Foundation course anymore, because it goes through water.
Who makes
Yeah.
these decisions? I like to see the
Adults.
individuals.
Oh, the Ohio High
Yeah.
School Athletics Association.
Yeah.
I wanna know.
What a
Somebody
wonderful
come up with an
organization.
idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure what all's going on over in Columbus right now, but,
They don't know
okay.
either.
Hey, let's talk football, because that's coming up here. I know Greenville's got a scrimmage,
Tonight.
Tonight.
is it tonight?
Yes,
7
Thursday
o'clock.
night.
Oh, I thought
No, it's
the
tonight.
scrimmage was tomorrow night.
No, it's
tonight.
tonight.
Oh, it
7
is
o'clock.
tonight. And I know Greenville's first game is Thursday night, next Thursday.
Right.
At Eaton.
The 22nd, right, down at Eaton, as get things
And the
going there.
lights.
New head coach,
New head coach.
Sean Ford.
Like him.
How's it going?
Like him. I really liked Bart,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
sometimes change is good. And 28 years old, I talked to him and I asked him about coming in with a 0-10 team. And he said, well, when you're 28 years old, you don't get asked to coach a 10-0 team.
That's true.
He's happy to be here and he's a
Yeah, he
great
is.
guy.
I think he's enjoying it. I've been out there a couple times just to watch him practice, and I talked to the defensive coordinator one day. The one practice that I really watched him, they were really intent on what they were doing, and the coaches were on them constantly do just the little things. And I told the one coach, I was watching the defensive coordinator, and he was talking about blocking and where to put your hand and stuff like that. And the coach said, I said, I got to tell you, I said, this is the first group of kids I've seen in a long time that are getting some really good instruction, and they're listening. And he said, yesterday we had a bad practice. He said, when we got in the locker room, the coach tore into them. And he made his point very quickly. He said, these kids are going to be held accountable. And I believe it. I saw a marked difference in a couple practices with that team. So we'll see what Sean does.
Well, I hope
Yeah.
so. I mean, everybody's rooting for him, and 0-10, and it's okay. You want to get the numbers up, and it's a program. It'll take a while to get there, and it's going to be a turnaround. That was kind of not
You
a
hit the low
fluke, but
spot,
you ought to
yeah.
hit it in
Yeah.
a sweet spot. But if they can get fundamentally sound and not beat themselves, they got a chance. And defensively,
Tackle.
my Lord, we were last. Our defense in the past few years has been suspect.
Well, I think the biggest thing that I've noticed with Greenville in the last 10 years is I think it's this way with all of football, even up to the pro level. We've become so in love with the pass and the fancy game and all that stuff. You forget that if you block, you tackle, you win.
Mm-hmm.
And for the last 10 years, I have not seen a fundamentally sound Greenville at all,
Right.
especially along the offensive line. Those kids, they're good kids, but they're not getting stay low, stay with your block, that kind of thing. Fire off the ball. The fundamentals weren't there.
Well,
So-
you watched, in the tournament time, I watched Marion Local. And of course, they're probably the premier.
They are the best in the
Okay.
state.
But their defensive line, for example, everything was set up for the linebackers to make the tackle.
That's
They
what-
go down and they don't go up. They go down and actually hit at the knees of the offensive line, and that just, linebackers have pickings
Yep,
then.
well-
Yeah.
But we're standing up and getting pushed back. and-
Talking to Sean the first time we talked to him, the first time I talked to him, when I did an interview with him, he said, I said, what kind of defense you gonna run? He said, I'm gonna run a 4-3. I said, you better have a middle linebacker. He said, I'll find one.
But if you set up for your linebackers, that's
Yeah.
what they're there for,
Yeah.
right? So.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm looking at the schedule here, and fortunately, the first two games are on the road, or unfortunately, depends how you look at it with our facilities. Galen, what's the latest on the facilities out there with the stadium?
All the turf is up now. They're getting ready to put it back down. And I understand the school board and Coach Schaefer, they can't say, we're gonna open this date. I mean, you got weather,
Yeah.
But just myself, seeing what I see, I know Broomball Construction is out there building a temporary press box. That's starting now. I think, personally, I would think maybe the first home game may be played at Jennings, but I think we'll see us playing most of our home games at Harmon. I know the light poles are supposed to be in any day. There'll be 4 light poles, and this field is going to be like daylight. I mean, if you've been to Piqua,
Yeah.
same lighting system.
Yeah.
So we may not get in there at all. Me personally, and no one from the school has told me this, I think we'll play some games there. I think we'll play the majority of our home
Yeah,
games.
and when you talk about the light poles, the way I understand it, they're putting the new light poles outside what will be the footprint of any new facility
Right.
that comes
Right.
along, which,
Smart.
Right.
in my opinion, hopefully as soon as possible.
Yes.
I think this is a golden opportunity to replace that.
Yes.
Well, it
stadium.
needs to be replaced,
It
because
does.
it's not handicapped accessible now.
No.
in the
Right.
Yeah,
And then you
so-
talk about football for, the way we're looking for that, but the team, I think you're gonna look at in our MBL this year, I think your usual suspects, right? You got your
Yep.
Troy's
Yeah.
coming back, and Tip's always been tough recently, and Butler had a real nice program
Yeah.
last year, and
Yeah.
I think.
That was old basketball coach here at Greenville High School, Clarence Geeth. That's his grandson is the head coach at
Yeah.
Butler.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, they start out right in the fire because we go down to Eaton. Eaton has had some nice ball clubs over the last few years. They got a tremendous kicker. Your
Yeah.
young man's going to be a junior, and he hit a 52-yarder last year. He's got one of the better legs I've seen in high school. He's only going to be a junior. Yeah, we go down to Eaton, then to Troy, and Troy's always
Yep.
always going to be tough. So the first two on the road. Then we come back. We got Tip, Butler, and Piqua. So we play all the schools in our North Division right off the bat because I feel, and I think you guys will agree, the South Division is
the
by
weaker.
far the weaker division.
by
So
far.
if we can
Yes.
survive and get battle tested and maybe pick a win or two off in there, then we look at that second half of the season and we
Now,
can make some hay.
Our
hopefully.
wins are gonna have to come out of the south.
Yes.
The Tippecanoe game should be interesting because that's Sean's,
Yeah.
Right.
that's Sean's home school and against
you know,
Beerbacher.
when you talk to Sean, he was 10-0 his senior year playing for Tip.
Uh-huh.
But he'll remind you that
Greenville got 'em.
Greenville beat them one
Yeah.
year when they were
Yeah.
7-3.
Yeah.
But I think in the MVL, I think I've got Troy picked 1, Tippecanoe, they're always tough 2, Butler 3, Xenia 4, and then Stebbins is.
Stebbins would be
They
there,
should be,
But
they
I
should
think
be,
they'll be better this year.
they should be better this
They're
year.
younger, they come back, they bring
Right.
some people back. I agree.
Well,
with
they had a
that.
couple
I
kids
agree
get
with
hurt last year too that really hurt them.
And, you know,
Yeah.
Tip could be number 1. You could
Well,
flip-flop Troy and Tip. but
Tip lost most of their starters from what I read. They had an article, or not an article so much as they had a bit on the Sports on Channel 2 or whatever it was, and talking to that Burbacher over there, Matt
Yeah.
Burbacher, and
He's a good
yeah, they
guy.
lost like 10 starters.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting, but they just
They
reload.
reload.
But
It's
I think what
almost-
people need to realize about high school sports, especially high school football, is you can be great one year and terrible the next.
Yeah.
Because your talent graduates or whatever, and you just don't have as much. So every year for a coach, it's harder at the high school level, I think, than any other level. Because 99% of the time, you don't know what you've got coming back or who's even going to come back. Some kids that played last year might not. Some kids that didn't might. So you got it. That's a tough job as a high school coach.
And
In
you know-
any of the high school sports, any of them.
And what always interests me is people always will come up and say, well, what do you think? What do you think this team's going to do or that team's going to do? And I usually tell them, I say, hey, look, there are years when you could be a really decent ball club and you'll maybe only win 5 games because everybody else is decent and better. Or there's years where you'll be very average and you might win 7, 8 games because everybody else is pretty
Below
poor.
average, yeah.
You never know. It starts shaking out like in basketball. We always said,
Yeah.
you don't know till after Christmas.
That's right.
In football, after about first 3, 4 games, you
games,
start
yeah.
getting a pretty good handle on things. And all these teams in the north playing each other in the MVL, you'll find out pretty darn
Jumping to the
quick.
Western High Athletic Conference.
Yes, let's
I
go
don't
down
want
to
you
the
look at it.
low
I think usual suspects again, be back
Right.
every year. Ansonia, Tri-Village, Preble Shawnee, and Twin Valley South had a nice program last year, kind
I
of.
think Arcanum will be improved too. I think.
Well, I think they'll be
They
improved, but I
are
think
much improved,
but
much
I think your
improved.
teams are gonna be the top 3, the usual suspects.
Well, we didn't even talk, you didn't mention Preble Shawnee.
Well-
I mean,
Well-
Shawnee went, and they've got some quarterback and some receivers.
How about I did Ansonia, Tri-Village?
Ansonia
they-
should be
yeah,
pretty.
maybe.
Ansonia might be pretty.
If you
decent.
talk to people in the WOAC, a lot of them are picking Preble Shawnee to be at the top, and their reasoning is they have their quarterback and all the receivers back. I think Ansonia will be top. Still think it'll be Tri-Village and Ansonia. I pick Ansonia, then Tri-Village, and then Preble Shawnee. But a lot of the people you'll talk to, they're picking Preble Shawnee over Ansonia and Tri-Village.
They got some skilled people.
And Bradford
they have
had a
their
nice,
skills.
Bradford had a nice season, finished
Right.
5-5
Yeah,
last year. and,
which was kind of a surprise for everybody, but
But
they
I'm
might be decent.
thinking Arcanum could finish as high as 4th in the conference,
You know, you talk about Bradford, new stadium.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a
really
nice
good.
facility. I drove by the other day. It's a really nice facility. It's good to see them back after.
Yeah, it is.
They've had kind of hit and miss over the years, and you just like see some of these teams that, like Mississinawa. I'd like to see Mississinawa have a good season
Right.
sometime. You know, some of
They're
those
on- they're on
schools
a
you don't think
struggle.
of, Tri-County North, and some of those schools. Every now and then you like to see somebody
like to
just
see
pop
somebody
up
do
out
good.
of nowhere. But I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a real competitive league down
Yeah.
there.
And then MAC, you got.
Oh my God, we're going up north now.
Well, the MAC, you might as well
Yeah.
get them all. We
Might
got
as well hit them
on
all,
board,
yeah.
right? So, obviously, I think Marion Local is gonna be tough this year, as they always
Really?
are. Yeah.
You think
that's
so?
a wild guess.
Boy, they're the wild
You're
guess.
going out on a limb there, buddy.
Yes, I am.
Yes,
And
sir.
Versailles, I mean, again, the same group, right? Year after year after year, you got Marion Local, Versailles, Coldwater, and Minster.
St. Henry
St.
came back a little bit last year.
So, and then volleyball, if you go to the volleyball
Oh,
on that
my.
side of the house, I mean, my stars,
yeah, they're-
Coldwater 21-4, New Bremen 18-4.
Yep.
St. Henry, Fort Recovery, whoever comes out of there alive
Yep.
is going someplace. Year after year, and Versailles, who finished down in the league, but they get tournament time, man, they're tough.
You know,
so.
I've said this before, but if you look at the MAC, to me, it's the most amazing league in the state. It's the best league in the state. Because you have 3 different divisions of schools playing in the same league. And they're all competitive. You got the bigger schools and you got the smaller schools, and it doesn't matter to them. They just go in there and beat the heck out of each other every week. It doesn't matter who they play. So I've always said, people say, well, Greenville's in this smaller division or whatever, we're the smallest team. It doesn't matter. 11 guys can only play at a time. That's it.
Well, guys,
Bottom line.
I've got to be on an assignment. I got to get out of here, so I'm going to leave you three. I'll leave you my sheet. There's my list for the WOAC and the MVL and volleyball, how I see them stacking up this year.
What you got there in front of you there, buddy?
This? Oh, I got to get.
He's an official fair
Fair
photographer.
photographer, yeah. Show people
Hey,
that.
guys,
fair photography.
yeah, desert us in our time of need here,
So anyway,
Gaylen.
but Greenville has a great volleyball team.
Yes, they
do. Yes, they
This
do.
is- This is their year. I'm picking up number 2.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
See you
See you
guys.
later,
How
Gaylen.
many, how many thousands of pictures you gonna take out there at the fair this year?
Probably 12,000.
That's what I figured. We'll keep that
see.
finger loose.
All right, guys, thanks.
Hey, you know, the other thing about the MAC we talk about, and the rivalries up there, intense rivalries, communities, you know, they're pulled together, but they also bond together as a league.
Very
There's a
much.
young man who's going to be the starting center at Coldwater this year, was involved in an accident on a electric bicycle, I think it was, and that whole MAC community is bonded together in the form of not only support financially, but also just support emotionally. And,
I'll tell you-
and that's a close-knit group, and that's what makes it such a great
As
league.
an official, it was always great to do the MAC because I don't care how intense the rivalry was. You never, ever had a problem with those kids.
That's true. Mike's.
Never. I never had, you don't even have to say anything to them, but they will knock the heck out of each other. Scream at, the best one is when you get two guys that are talking to each other the whole game. I had this up at, it was Marion Local and, gosh, I forget the other school. Anyway, these two kids just kept going at each other. Finally, about the middle of the fourth quarter, one of them said something to the other one, it got kind of hot, and I said, that's enough of that. So I put up this whole game, the guy looks at me and goes, oh, we don't mean nothing by it, he's my cousin. Oh, well, I don't care if we kill each other then.
No, that's a lot
Go
of
at
that.
it.
Go at it.
Yeah, Mike Closeup, and my brother-in-law still
Yeah.
associates, and he says by far, of the things they like to do, you go to a MAC game, it's just, it's always a good game.
And it's-
Fans are great, the players, again, they're intense, don't get me wrong, he said, but, you know, some of these other schools you go to, you think, good Lord, how's, you know.
Well, the night that St. Henry lost they had that 52-game home winning streak, I was a referee there, all 6-0 to Marion. And I remember coming off the field, now if anybody's gonna get in trouble, it's gonna be us, you know. Coming off the field, the stands, the people in the stands are going, oh, hey, here come the officials, nice job, guys, nice job. Everybody said nice job, even the coach from St. Henry came in and said, you guys did a heck of a great job tonight, thank you very much for coming.
Yeah.
It is just different.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is just
A lot
different.
of class.
Yeah, a lot of classes, right. And, you know, 7 divisions of football. The one thing that kills me on that, in Division I, it's the top, largest 64 schools, or 68 schools, I think it is. There's only 4 schools of those 68 don't qualify for the Division I playoffs,
Well-
because they have 16 in each of the 4 regions.
Somebody told me, I don't know if this is true, but they said there's like 16 teams in Greenville's division now, I think, or something like that with the new
Oh,
one.
I don't
And they
know.
said, somebody said if they'd won
You
2
mean-
games last year, they'd
Yes.
made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
crazy.
It's gonna be the point eventually, like Indiana, where
Everybody-
Everybody starts, yeah, Indiana only plays a 9-game regular
that's it.
season schedule, and
Yeah.
then 10th game, that's the
Yeah.
first game of the playoffs and stuff. Well, hey, that's high school sports, we kind of delved into that a little bit. Let's take a look at college football. What do you say, boys? Because I have no idea who's playing for who. You have to stop and think who's in what league anymore. Here's Ohio State, they're starting quarterbacks from Kansas State, the centers from Alabama, and the running backs from Mississippi. So, I don't know what's going on out there. It's the Wild West, right?
Honestly,
Yeah.
in my opinion, NIL has ruined college sports, college football
Man.
especially. What it's gonna end up being is you're gonna have 2 super conferences and everybody else. That's
Yeah.
gonna be it.
And there'll be like 18 to 20 team conferences.
As far as good, I think Alabama will be good again.
Oh, you think?
I think Ohio State should be. People are talking about Oregon. I think they'll be good. I don't think they'll be great. As far as everybody else,
Georgia was the selected
Georgia-
number 1. in
Georgia's
the
number 1,
Polls
but-
right now.
Until they get beat, you know, they're gonna be number 1, right?
Yeah.
Again, usual suspects.
college football is just a mess. It
Yeah,
really
and you
is.
have Oklahoma and Texas coming into the Southeast Conference, and then the one geographically that just blows everybody away is, you know, some of those Pac-12 schools from out
USC
west.
and UCLA?
Yeah, in the Big Ten, but then I'm thinking like, who is it goes to the ACC? Is it Cal and Stanford are in the
Yeah.
Atlantic Coast Conference? And-
You gotta be associated with a conference, and the conferences
Yes.
need big schools to keep relevant.
TV.
ACC is an example versus SEC. They
But
just-
what I can't figure out about all this is, if you're a school's athletic director, and you have to have, most of these, when you affiliate with a conference, you have to have so many sports.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons Notre Dame doesn't, because they don't want to compete in some of the other lesser sports. But if you've got all these sports, like, okay, you play football on the East Coast, and now you've got to send your girls' volleyball team clear to the East Coast to play volleyball. Where are they saving money, and where are they making any sense in all
Yeah.
this?
I don't know if it's the idea of
Unless it's
saving
just
money
a-
because they're getting so much to do that, and that's why why would UCLA want to join the Big Ten? Why? Because they're
What's
financially.
their television contract?
It always
they're
comes
just-
down
that's
to right
covered
here,
those guys.
buddy.
The
It
best
doesn't make.
television contract in the country.
I think it's be an evolution. There'll be two conferences, but it'll be redivisioned. You're going to have a Big Ten West, Midwest, and East, or something like that. SEC will be.
Who knows where it's going to go?
Yeah, I mean, that sort of thing, but the idea anymore, I think the NIL too, the idea anymore of, well, they're just kids. No, you're a
that's not
professional
true.
athlete anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear that, here's an
Yeah.
18-year-old making $1 million, for and then saying, well, he's just a kid. Well, you signed a contract, you're making money, now you're
Yeah.
a professional. So-
Right now, I think I would hesitate to guess how many of the big school quarterbacks are making more money than Brock Purdy
Yeah.
of the San Francisco 49ers.
Exactly.
Yeah, because he's locked into that rookie contract for 3 or 4 years. So you got college kids making more than the guy that's quarterback in the 49ers. I'm looking at Ohio State's schedule because, around here, Ohio
That's it.
State's the animal. And State starts out, first of all, they've got 8 home games, only on the road 4. They start out with Akron, Western Michigan, and Marshall. Then you talked about Oregon. That's State's first test. I mean, they
Yep.
play those 3 at home, then they go out west and take on Oregon, and that'll tell a lot, really, fairly early in the season.
Yeah, I think that, the expanded playoffs, now that one
Yes.
loss is not going to
No.
knock either team out, Oregon or Ohio State, for example, or Ohio State, Penn State, or Ohio State, Michigan,
Yeah.
the usual crew there, the expansion of the team. So I think that, it's early and every team that is a team rarely starts off with a
Yeah.
big one. Once in a while, you have an Ohio State, Texas open up,
Yeah.
or Michigan, Notre Dame, for example. But, generally, everybody's working themselves up to.
99% of the conferences do that.
Yep.
The only one that doesn't is the SEC. If you watch their schedule, they don't play their cupcakes till the
the very
7th
end.
and 8th grade.
Right.
And you know why they do that?
Oh, yeah.
To get healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly why they do
Yeah,
it.
everybody has the quote-unquote cupcakes, but the cupcakes are there because that's paydays for them too.
Yeah.
And that's one thing about the MAC with the Big Ten is that, say Bowling Green comes in there. And in order to state Division I, you have to have a minimum of 25,000 people average per game. Well, if they go to Ohio State, there's 4 games for them. There'll be 100,000 people there.
Yeah.
So that helps them stay Division I.
And they get the big buck, that's a big payday for
Big
them.
pay.
And the Mid-American Conference, unfortunately, like others of the so-called
lesser conferences.
group of 5 or
Yeah.
whatever they call them now, have basically become AAA farms feeders for
Exactly.
the major leagues,
How'd you
the
like to be one of
big
their
power
coaches?
conference. Yeah, you develop a guy and then he's gone. I know Miami's going to have a nice ball club this year. They had a good ball club last year. They got most of their people back. They started Northwestern, then they have UC at home, then they go to Notre Dame. So they got three
That's three good
pretty
ones.
good tests right off the bat there. But they're gonna be hanging right in there. But you got to keep those people after you develop them, because
What do you
if
think's
not,
good-
the lure of money and the big conferences.
What do you think's going to happen to Michigan?
Hey, that's interesting. And
Not enough.
Not enough. And did you see that they're bringing Jim Harbaugh back after the suspensions and probations?
Actually,
and
they're not.
All this. I thought he was coming back.
He
to,
said he didn't. He said he didn't have time to do it.
Oh well, that's a good
know
move on
why?
his part.
Do you know why he did that?
Because he
Because
got
he knew
arrested?
that was just poking the eye of the NCAA, and that was going to make everything worse for Michigan.
Yeah. What we were talking about was after he's put on probation and left to go to the Chargers as their head coach, then the athletic director in his wisdom invited Harbaugh back to be the honorary captain of the first football game.
Yeah.
After all this has come down, I feel kind of sorry for the guy that took over Harbaugh's place, because he's getting hammered and he might have been, involved in it
Well,
too.
he's got
Yeah.
things against him, so anyway.
What, Sharon Moore? The
Yeah,
coach?
he's got-
Yeah, he's got 52 text messages he deleted the day that The day that the indictment came down, he deleted 52 text messages
just
to
a
the
slip
other
of the-
coaches and to players saying, don't tell them anything.
It's just a slip of the finger, Mike. I do
Yeah.
that all the time on my phone.
And before we go to out of the pros here, I want to
Yeah.
go back and touch base on something pretty big, at least in the county right now. We
Oh.
did some volleyball. We didn't talk about, briefly, that if you look at the MVL, the Wave this year,
Lady Wave.
They could be
will
good.
be pretty stout, I think. And I think, I know Galen's got them number 2 with Tip number 1, Greenville, and then Butler. But Wave have some really good players coming
Yeah,
back,
yeah.
and All League Schmidt coming
Yeah,
back.
Brooke
too.
Schmidt
So,
coming back. Yeah.
So they got some good players, and if you look at our sisters here, the WOAC, Ansonia, Tri-Village, Purple Shawnee, pretty stout. Arcanum's always been very good last few years too, so very competitive in our volleyball in our county this year.
Well, like you said about up in the MAC, ball up there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just, we
that's
talked about that,
tremendous
it's just amazing.
up there.
But,
It is amazing to me, though, that the advancement that girls' sports has made in the last 10 years.
Oh, my,
They're
good.
really, if you go watch some of them, go watch a girls' volleyball game. There are some real athletes there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these kids are good.
Well, there was athletes, and it's kind of a shame back in our day when, there were some athletes in my class and there are other classes
Yeah.
that you think if they could have played.
Never had a chance.
Never had a chance, that they were really good athletes, never had the opportunity, and it's kind of a shame, but guys that's got granddaughters, that really appreciate the fact that those sports are
It is
certainly
fun to
available.
watch.
You know, we talked about this before. If you go back like in the 20s and early 30s, girls' interscholastic sports was a big deal. I mean, they played regular schedules and so forth. I know Greenville has claimed to being state champions in like 1914 and 1927 or something like that. But something happened there about 1931, 32, where that was it. And all of a sudden, girls' interscholastic sports, because you're right, you guys had tremendous athletes in your class,
Yes, and
but never had a
I think a lot
chance.
of that had to do with the stock market crash.
You think so?
Yeah, because it got so, everybody was down on cash and stuff, and they had to cut programs and everything else. I think that's part of it.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we've really got some really good girl athletes.
Yeah, we do. Hey, let's move just briefly into pro sports here as we wrap things up. NFL, Bengals, Browns, that's the two around here with a little
Who
bit
dey?
of Colts thrown in there. But I don't know, I think the key to both of the team's success, they can keep the quarterbacks upright and healthy, especially
That's the key for the
Bengals.
Bengals,
That's
if
the
he can
key for
stay
the
healthy.
Bengals.
That's key for everybody, I think, in the league, but particularly the Bengals, that's for sure.
Well, the Vikings really took a hit.
Oh, my.
J.J. McCarthy's out now for the season, torn meniscus. Number one, that was their one draft pick.
Yeah, the kid from Michigan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good ball player.
Yeah,
so
10th
that,
pick overall, yeah.
Football there's only two things that matter. Only two. Injuries and penalties. That's it. If you can stay healthy and you don't commit the stupid penalties,
Yeah, yeah.
the false starts, offside, that kind of stuff.
I thought you were going to say block and tackle, which is.
Well, that's fundamental.
From grade level right on up, yeah.
That's fundamental. But as far as playing the game, it's injuries and penalties, stupid penalties.
Yeah.
Well, the North Division where the Bengals play,
wow.
I mean, that's a slobber knocker, right? You got Ravens,
Steelers.
and Steelers don't care if they're off or not, they're still the Steelers, right? And of course, the Brownies and the Bengals, that's a tough division. I think the Ravens are the team to beat still, because they have to be the team to beat, I believe, if their defense keeps them in the game.
Absolutely.
Every year, their defense is just, and Browns have a great defense.
Didn't they get
too.
Derrick Henry too from the Titans,
Yes,
came in
they
as a
did.
running back,
Yeah.
so yeah, if you keep Lamar Jackson healthy and,
Yeah.
give the
But
ball to
even if he's
Henry,
not
yeah.
healthy,
I
their
think the big
defense
question
keeps
is
you in
too,
the
is
game.
are the Browns ever going to overcome the Deshaun Watson trade? Which was probably, to this point, the worst trade in the history of the National Football League.
Yeah, it's like up there for the Reds when they traded Frank Robinson, that's, that was a terrible trade, terrible.
Well, they
trade.
gave
And
away
it's-
some of their future picks,
Oh,
that's the
and
main thing.
it's cost them a barrel of money, and they've gotten absolutely zero production out of it. So that's a terrible, that was awful. So,
I
can they
think-
overcome that? I don't know.
From a Who Dey fan now, I'm hoping that, no, it doesn't pay off for a while yet, so.
Well, I've told all my Bengal friends, and I mean this.
Are you a Brownie fan too?
No, heck no. I'm a Vikings fan. But,
Really?
yeah.
How'd that happen?
Philistine?
It's a crazy story if you want to hear it. When I was a kid, I was watching pro football. I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and I had 4 favorite teams, and I called them my helmet teams because I liked
Like
their
their
helmets.
helmets.
The Vikings, the Cardinals, and the Eagles. And for some reason, I don't know why, I just glommed on to the Broncos. I like them, not crazy about them, but the other three, I was really
Okay.
crazy about.
Ah,
Well, we don't-
Yeah.
What were your three favorite teams when you were?
Kid growing up, well, I started with the Browns as far as football.
Yeah.
Because that's
That's
what
who
we
was
loved,
there,
right,
yeah.
right? And then my dad started watching the Bengals when they came on, and they, started, so I just kind of, that's how I got into the, more of the Bengals than the Browns. Of course, if the Bengals can't make it, I do root for the Brownies, so that's probably my favorite team. I really didn't have any second favorite team. I just always been Browns, rock solid, or, again, when I was like, I don't know, 8 or 10, whenever the Bengals came on,
Yeah.
Dad started watching them because it was on TV.
It was the
Got
fall of
there.
'68.
So that's kind of where I switched to the Bengals.
I still think the Vikings have the coolest helmet in the NFL.
Yeah.
And the Rams.
Hey,
the
the
Rams
Bengals
was my
now
other
like the
favorite
battle
team.
straps.
The Ram,
Stripes.
the Ram horn that's classic, man. That's classic.
It
Yeah,
is.
mine was always, of course, the Browns, because that's what you heard on TV. That was the game. That's the only
Right.
one you could see
Yeah.
on Channel 7 was the Browns. Then the Bengals came along, but I've always been a 49ers and Packers fan because of the uniforms.
Yep.
I like the uniforms.
There it is.
Now, here's the main thing. This will be the big question out there for you folks, because this is my wife's question. How do you like the Bengals all white? The white helmets with the white jerseys? I like them a lot. I like them. I don't know if you do, but I do.
Yeah.
Kathy likes
I
them.
like the striped, when they changed instead of Bengals on the side.
Oh, yeah.
They changed the stripes, and I thought that was a pretty,
That was a good
Bold
move.
move.
But the worst helmet in the NFL is the Browns. It
Yeah,
sucks.
there's
It
nothing
sucks.
there.
yeah.
And,
they're
the
proud of
Bengals,
it.
the Bengals, when they had Bengals on there,
Yeah.
was a second. I mean, that was,
Yeah, it's pretty simple. That
was pretty dumb.
That was
Yeah.
Paul Brown
Yeah,
basic.
That was
Yeah.
weak, that was
Yeah.
weak.
But yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting NFL season. You hope major players don't get hurt, but that's
Right.
part of the game. You know it's going to happen. So, I mean, you could name probably half a dozen teams in both the AFC and NFC have chances to get to the Super Bowl.
comes down to injuries.
It
That's
does.
exactly right.
You got to
Down
keep them
injuries.
healthy. Got to keep them healthy. Well, boys, this has been fun.
It has
Yeah,
been.
been
We
good.
need to do this every now and then, just to
Been a
purge
while
our
since we've all
souls.
been
and-
together. It's
That's
been some
right,
time.
Wish all our fall sports teams
Yeah,
in the
good luck.
county.
Oh,
good
everybody
luck
in Dark
this year,
County,
so.
good luck.
Yeah. So, and it all kicks off. So you folks out there, make sure you go out and support these local teams. And I don't mean just football. I mean
All
volleyball,
of
tennis, soccer, everything. Cross country, even though they're going to be running on dry land. That's
Yeah,
too bad.
go
That's too
figure,
bad. Anyhow, on behalf of Nick Schmidt, our videographer, Ty House, Mike Stegall, Alex Warner, glad you could join us. We'll be back again sometime here in the future with another episode of the Roundtable here on mycountylink.com. So long, everybody.